Many of the core issues that face business leaders today have to do with people interactions. And there's all kinds of characteristics and attributes that shape our interactions with others. And one of the interesting aspects is your unique human wiring. It's at work. It's at work every day, 24/7, influencing your thoughts and your actions. Now, we all have a human wiring pattern, and some traits are more dominant than others. It doesn't mean good or bad. This wiring tells us how you are best engaged in decision making, how you process thought and communicate, the environment in which you best thrive, and the amount of certainty information that you need for effective decision making. Now, you can learn a lot from understanding your wiring, which gets to the root of why you may be repeating behaviors that don't serve you. For example, over the years, I've worked with a number of leaders who are wired with this combination. They like to create and act on their own ideas. They will advocate for their ideas. They like to think things through. They're direct in their communication style. I call this element the internal thinker, because they think about their thoughts internally. They like to juggle multiple things. They're impatient, often setting unrealistic expectations for themselves and others. And they like information. They like information and structure and want to do things the right way. Now, leaders with this wiring also struggle with a self-critical mindset. Now, without awareness training, their internal dialogue is self-limiting or self-sabotaging, or it focuses on what isn't working or won't work. And they tell themselves that they should be farther, faster, or in a better position than they are. Now, nobody is harder on them than themselves. And they often overanalyze a situation. And because they want to be sure to avoid mistakes, they follow up very closely and critically. 2, delegation. Since they believe that only they can do it best, they become the bottleneck. They don't want to stop long enough to train and reinforce the training of their team because they're on to the next idea. They also have a tendency to want to figure things out for themselves, causing their plate to overflow. And fear of failure, not doing something right, not making the right decision, as well as procrastination. Now, where does everybody procrastinates, but where does the procrastination come from? Well, people wired this way, the underlying reasons for that procrastination are found in their factor combination of human wiring elements. Now, since they are impatient, they procrastinate on tasks that they think will require a lot of time. And they're an internal thinker and procrastinate maybe on conversations, especially if they think it might be a difficult one, analyzing what to say. They also procrastinate on delegating. Why? Because they need to figure it out, whatever it is. They want it done perfectly, or they think it's just faster doing it themselves. Now imagine if this task-oriented leader is responsible for nurturing and development of a team, okay? They are naturally a directive leader, and they're in a position requiring nurturing elements like reinforcing training, allowing others to contribute their ideas, being patient with the mistakes of others, and giving kudos. So how does a leader wired with all task elements excel in nurturing a team? Number 1, interrupt your natural impulse. Your human wiring is a natural impulse, but how you respond is a choice. When you create an awareness that you have that natural tendency to figure things out yourself, you can interrupt that natural pattern. So instead, choose to collaborate. How? By asking your team member how they would troubleshoot a situation. Now, if your team member comes to you with a problem, instead of giving a direct answer, which is your natural impulse, ask them, well, what potential solutions could they develop or that would solve that issue at hand? Now, with this approach, you'll simultaneously be developing your team's competencies and expanding your leadership skills. Now, this human wiring profile also has all task elements. So if I want to create and act on my own ideas, it's a task element. If I And there's benefits in that, right? So they'll also consider that you may want to, as an internal thinker, avoid social situations. With an all task profile, you want to avoid some of those social chit chat, yet stopping for a few minutes to socially converse, or stop long enough to give some kudos to somebody who did something well that day, fosters that relationship building. Number 2, retrain your brain. If you're in the habit of spiraling with negative banter, stop yourself in the moment of the downward slide. Replace that self-limiting banter with what you do want to have happen. For example, let's say you say something like, oh, geez, nothing ever works out. Replace it with opportunities are aligning from expected and unexpected sources right now. Or maybe you look at what's wrong with something. Stop yourself and point out what's good or valuable. Now, with consistent practice, you'll retrain your brain in overcoming that self-limiting banter or viewpoints, creating space for those idea-expanding aspects of your role that you so enjoy. And number 3, be responsible for clear communication. So as an internal thinker, somebody that ponders things on the inside, this wiring pattern has a tendency to think they verbally communicated something, but in the reality, they didn't verbalize it. They thought about doing it, but they didn't actually verbalize it. And because you don't want to be wrong about the communication, you may have a tendency to deflect the responsibility for the miscommunication. Instead, simply take responsibility for your part, put in whatever was missing, like identifying a date or agreeing to a date, managing expectations, whatever was missing, and move on. The bottom line is that you repeat behaviors because your wiring is operating in the background without awareness. The more you create awareness around your natural wiring, the better you become interrupting the behaviors that no longer serve you. If you're inspired to take a deep dive into your human wiring and specific tools to optimize it, as well as level up your leadership, you can join us for Wired to Win Masterclass, 2-day immersion into human wiring. It's coming up in August. More information on the link below. I'm Lisa Minnini. Until next week, create a great life. Bye now.